I've been on record on this one before as saying that I prefer one law for the country. I've never been in favor, even though I generally like municipalities to have more powers, I've never been in favor of this approach. That said, Calgary certainly has a problem with gun violence, and it's something that we're addressing through a number of formats, including our Public Safety Task Force. So I'll wait to hear the recommendations of that task force before determining whether or not to test council's will on whether we should take advantage of that or not.
What about, isn't there a law of some sort that in Saskatchewan and Alberta that says that municipalities here in this province can't ban firearms like that?
Look, I'm not aware of that, but ultimately, if the federal government is devolving the power to us, then we'll let the province and the feds fight about jurisdiction. I'm just worried about keeping people safe.
What is the time frame on the task force?
Soonish. I believe that they will be looking at their final recommendations in their next meeting, so we should be hearing from them in the next month or two.
So in terms of today, let's talk about golf courses first.
Yes.
So, is it possible that this issue is going to be dropped? Do you know where people's head is at after the decision from today?
Well, I'm going to go way back. Back in 2013, I was opposed to giving golf courses taxpayer subsidy. I don't mind us providing that service for seniors and others to have access to affordable golf, but I think that is one of our businesses that should be able to break even. And so I supported administration's move back towards break even. And in fact, not only did they break even last year, they had a bit of a surplus, despite the fact that they had to stretch out tee times due to social distancing for COVID. What we've seen on this contracting out piece is just a lot of good money after bad. We did an expression of interest, nobody really was interested. We asked for a consultant to help us, no consultants were interested. And so I'm done with spending good money after bad on this. I don't think that this request for proposal is going to be successful in this environment. And council has been swaying in that direction over the last several months. And so in November, we had a 6-8 vote to just stop. And today you had a very big vote from this committee to, if not stop, to defer it for 2 years. So the debate we'll have at council will be very different than what I was expecting. It didn't sound like anybody was in favor, almost nobody was in favor of going forward now. And so the debate is, do you just kill it completely? Or do you give it a faint hope clause to come back at the end of 22 and see if the conditions have changed? But I appreciate that because I'm very agnostic on this. I don't mind privatization where it makes sense. I think that we should deliver public services as efficiently as possible. And certainly we've privatized a number since I've been mayor. But this particular one just didn't make sense. Nobody seems to want it. No one seems to be able to operate it in a way that seniors and others can still have affordable golf. So my sense is that this one will not be moving forward anytime soon.
Is there any sense that the changes that the city has made to the golf course operations so far, which last year, even in a year like that last year, made it profitable, does that make it at all any more enticing for a private operator?
I mean, it goes both ways. It's more enticing for a private operator, but it's also going to be more expensive for us to get rid of it because we're actually making money off of it. And so those are the things that council will have to balance.
Does the cost of this process not rob future capital improvements on the golf course?
Yes, it does. What administration brought before us today was spending up to $750,000 that could be spent on improving our golf courses on a process that is destined to fail.
Do you think if the city kept control of these golf courses that it could be sustainable breaking even in the future, or is it too uncertain because of COVID?
No, this is absolutely the plan. Even before COVID, there was a plan that involved better use of technology, reducing our costs, and slightly increasing our green fees to get those golf courses to profitability by the end of 22. And they actually got there by the end of 20, even with stretched out tee times due to COVID. Now, it may be that more people were golfing because it was one of the few activities we were allowed to do during COVID. But what we've heard from lots of industry experts is lots of young people got into it this year, and we expect that increase in in this sport, which we're seeing across North America, will likely stick. I, however, still do not know how to golf.
Your thoughts about the Chinook incident with the police?
Yes. Well, I think like a lot of people, I was a bit troubled by what those videos showed. I appreciate Calgary Police Service's explanation for what was going on, but I'll point out that I don't think I've shook anybody's hand in 10 months. I think I've hugged a grand total of 2 people, my mom and a woman at a Remembrance Day ceremony who snuck up on me. So given that, I think that it's fair for people who said, look, I've been working so hard that we got to be better about this. And I've said this a lot. We got to be better about making sure we're enforcing what is the law against people who are flagrantly putting other people's health at risk. And don't compare this to Black Lives Matter. Those people weren't putting other people's health at risk. These folks were going through a mall where the law is you have to wear a mask, where the other shoppers and the people who work there have an expectation of some safety, and they were being harassed. That ain't right. And I'm not a police officer, and I don't get to tell the police officers what to do, but I would strongly suggest that there was a lot of flagrant violation of the law here, and I would expect to see a lot of tickets.
So you see that event as being different than protesting at the building here?
Well, just think about the number of laws you're violating. You know, when you gather outdoors in front of City Hall, you are violating the rule on outdoor gatherings that have to have a certain limit. But when you're in a mall, you're violating the city's mask bylaw, the province's mask mandate on workplaces, the amount of indoor gatherings, which are still not allowed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's much more flagrant. And you're much more in people's faces. When you're on the steps of City Hall on a Saturday, when City Hall is closed, I still don't like it, but you're pretty much just yourselves. But when you walk through a mall, you've got families, you've got workers there who have an expectation that they're going to be in a relatively safe place. So to me, it's quite a different situation.
Do you understand, and as you said, you don't get to tell the police how to do their jobs, but you've heard the explanation from CPS about how they police the outdoor events. Do you understand their rationale for how they police the indoor?
I understand it. My point of view is that one size does not fit all here.
Sticking with COVID, I guess, can I get your thoughts on the notice of motion from Jeff Davison to advocate the province to allow certain city workers to get this vaccine?
Yeah, in the federal government's guidelines, phase 2 of vaccine rollout, one of the prioritized categories is people who provide critical government services. And we have not yet heard how they're going to operationalize that. And I do think bus drivers, firefighters, police officers, and others should have some priority.
And this would be in the second phase, starting in April, I guess, with the
Well,
with
hopefully
the province.
sooner than that, because I understand what happens next is people over 75 and other healthcare workers, then we move quite quickly to the next phase.
So far, I know you mentioned it in council, but I wonder if you could maybe reiterate so far with the provincial rollout and kind of how their framework is going. I guess kind of get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so far so good. The city has been part of the conversations around vaccine distribution. I strongly believe that, you know, despite all the noise we've had around supply over the last few weeks, our bigger problem is going to be distribution. In other words, before we know it, we're going to have more supply than we have ability to put in people's arms. And so our goal needs to be to solve that problem now before it happens and make sure we are ready to do massive vaccinations as soon as supply is available.
You still haven't heard anything from the province about making we use Village Square Leisure Center or this building?
No, it's all been on the table, and it does depend on supply, but I want to make sure that we've got a lot of backup plans so that this will have we can make it happen.
How big of a factor is speed with this? Obviously, there's a lot of, like, it seems like we're hearing more and more about the variant every day, and a new report out of the UK said it's looking like this thing could be a little bit more dangerous than the others. I guess, how important is that speed factor with this variant we're talking
It's
about?
so important. You know, I just want my mom to get that jab ASAP. And we need to get to something that looks like herd immunity quickly. You know, I'm in phase 3 like most people are, and I sure hope we get there well before September.
You should talk about PTP.
Yeah, so
That's kind of a big deal today.
essentially what the committee approved was a larger package that was talked about in budget that will keep non-residents property taxes at zero
That's
rather
great.
than having it 10. So what about that proposal swayed you given the problems with the value?
It's just such a bad year for so many businesses. And the fact is, we've got a little bit of money in the bank still, not that much, but a little bit. And we could afford to cap this. I still may change my mind before council, because what I'm worried about is providing such a large rebate this year. Then next year you've got a new council, and the new council is setting out tax bills with a massive increase in it. It feels a bit unfair to me. But I was swayed today by the argument that, look, these businesses have had such a rough year. Instead of us sitting on this money for a year, why don't we just give them a little bit of a break? So I'm going to do a lot more math between now and council to determine how much of a break that is for your average 17th Avenue business. But that argument swayed me, saying we can afford it, and you know, we've got a little bit of money left in our rainy day fund, and it's really raining for a lot of those businesses.
How long is this sustainable for? This stepping into.
How many times have I said this will be the last year of these one-time rebates? I think we're on year 6 of the last year of these one-time rebates. We can't do it forever, but there is an argument to be made around COVID for a lot of those street front retailers saying, well, at least do it one more year.
How many businesses go into zero? Help, 13 million. Help almost 2,000.
Yeah, I don't. So 13 million helped a little more than 10% of the businesses out there, maybe 15%. I'm not sure how many would be assisted by this. That's one of the pieces of math I got to do, but I imagine it would be at least double that.
What's your assessment of the need for this in the community? I think about the initial proposal, a little more than 10% of those 1,900 businesses. What's your assessment of the need, the benefit of getting to zero?
So remember last year, we actually gave businesses a 10% tax cut. So we've really done a lot of work to realign our system. And so I would have been happy just moving forward and letting the market work, because right now, your hotels are getting a 1/3 tax decrease almost because they've been closed, whereas your large format warehouses, because we're all shopping online, are seeing a bit of an increase. And that's just the market working. But I can be convinced that in the middle of a pandemic, nothing is normal, and we should be helping as much as we can.
And the city does have the financial capacity to do this?
Yeah, you know, we're lucky that we did okay last year, the year 2019, in our year-end surplus. So we do have a little bit of money left in our rainy day fund. It's not what it used to be, but there is something there.
So how big of a task will that be then moving forward to also make sure that rainy day fund gets refilled after all these large?
Well, it is a rainy day fund, and we keep it at a certain minimum in case there's really a disaster. So we have a very healthy balance sheet in the city. It's something I'm very proud of. I very rarely talk about the nuts and bolts of how we balanced our budgets and how we managed our fiscal environment here. But I'm quite confident that the city's in a very healthy position vis-a-vis other cities. And as long as we get transit back and we get ridership back and we get that revenue, the city will be able to manage itself and put a few dollars aside for bad times. All right. Thanks, everybody.